So what are some of the key considerations hiring teams need to think about before exploring, this technology-based approach to make, this solution a little bit more successful?
Yeah, great question. So, first is just to make sure that you have clear and fully up-to-date policies, especially around driver compliance. So reviewing those on a very timely basis is helpful. Another one that we see, and is probably the most important one that I want to call out here, is mapping and understanding all stakeholders who need to be a part of the conversations around driver compliance as a whole. Having 3 of the 5 people that are needed ultimately leads to more questions down the line, and just having everybody included in the conversation really makes the end goal the most perfect solution for everybody within the organization. And Andrew, I'll let you add on a couple of there as well.
Yeah, and so my big one is you really need to take an honest look at your program and where it stands today. You're probably doing a lot of things really well, but you're gonna have that program's gonna have some weaknesses, and being able to look at it objectively and kind of take ego out of the room and just say, what are we doing well? How do we build upon that? And where are we not doing the kind of job that we need to do to deliver the results back to our drivers, the community as a whole in terms of safety, the business. So knowing where you're strong, where you're weak is critical, and that's a really foundational starting point. And then, while this might seem, again, a little obvious, you need to understand what your ideal process is. A lot of times when we have conversations, there's no real goal for what you're trying to accomplish. So having that clear goal of what you're trying to do with this process and how you envision, the entirety of hiring drivers, screening drivers, onboarding drivers, keeping them compliant, and knowing what that best state is going to really ensure that as we go through a process, you're going to know exactly what you need out of each case, and then we're going to be able to build the best process together. And then one kind of additional thing that I would say, and it kind of goes back to what Morgan was talking about, the stakeholders, is just having honest conversations with each other about where the process can improve. And this is beyond just the regulated space. So a great example that kind of we ran into kind of recently with a large manufacturing customer was around instant drug tests, because they were having a big challenge in some of their more remote locations. And an instant test that automatically zips into the Sterling system was kind of their ideal solution. So the people that were responsible for administering the program and actually getting the screening done, getting people through the process, was incredibly excited. But the folks that were in charge of the compliance end and the policy documents were like, hey, we can't do that. That's against the policy. So I think that really just highlights kind of the situation where, hey, knowing what the goal is, partnering with all of those stakeholders, just knowing that you're going to make some changes, knowing that you have to change policies, knowing that you might have to change things that you've done for 15, 20 years, going into that with eyes open really is something that makes the process far more enjoyable for everybody that's involved versus, kind of the conflict that could come the other way.